Hey everybody, welcome back to Universe Jarvis. It's Sunday. We're going into a new week, but I decided that I would revisit one of my earlier recipes that went okay, but I actually did something major that all you guys pointed out that I shouldn't have done. I got rid of the juice. So we're gonna make a pineapple upside down cake, but we're gonna do a slight variation on what I did before, and we're actually gonna use one of my favorite things to use in the kitchen, a Bundt pan. It's a little lazy, but it makes a great cake. There's a lot of moisture that's going to be in there, and also gives it a nice, cute little shape anyhow. So, we're going to go ahead and get started. The first thing you want to do in this recipe, and this is an easy pineapple upside down cake, so you're actually going to use box cake mix to make this one. You want to go ahead and get your oven preheated to 350 degrees, so while you're getting everything mixed up, the oven can be getting up to temperature. So we're going to go ahead and get that oven on 350 right now. So we got that on. The next thing that I'll actually usually tend to like to do is I want to go ahead and get this pan greased. Now, you're actually going to use some butter, and I've got all my ingredients out right here, and we'll go through all of that. We probably should do it now. You're going to need some butter. You're going to need 2 tablespoons of that. You're going to need a vegetable or a canola oil. You're going to need a half a cup of that. You're going to need some maraschino cherries, some sliced pineapples, and usually they're going to be in 100% juice. You're going to need 3 eggs. And some dark brown sugar. All right. Now, one thing I did grab, because we're going to take the juice off of these pineapples and we're going to actually need a cup of it. If it's not quite a cup, you can cut it with water, but I happen to have some cans of pineapple juice here that I keep handy for this time of year because of sinus infections and all sickness. Is a great source of vitamin C. So if you're getting sick, having any sinus issues, I do recommend having this up. I'll probably actually add a little bit more of this if I need it. So gonna get the pan together. I'm gonna actually do 2 things to it. You're gonna melt 2 tablespoons of this butter. Microwave works fine. And you're gonna pour it down in here along with the brown sugar, so on and so forth. But what I'm actually gonna do first is I'm gonna get this nice and greased because that sugar is gonna caramelize and it'll stick. And even though this is a non-stick surface, I like to try to protect these as much as possible. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Get our hands washed. It's always important to start with good hygiene when you're cooking. I'm going to do that. And dry my hands. And we're going to turn this off. Okay, perfect. So, I do this a little bit differently when I get ready to grease and or oil. I like to take some paper towel, and I tend to buy lint-free. And I'm going to take a little bit of this Country Crock spread. And I'm going to grease. And I had already cleaned this before I started the video. I'm going to just rub a lot of this in there because that sugar, like I said, if you put that dark brown sugar in there, it's going to start caramelizing. And so it'll turn into a nice sticky mess. But you just want to make sure you protect your pan as much as possible. I'm working with some commercial grade baking equipment that was really inexpensive. Got it from TJ Maxx. But it's still really nice stuff, so I want to protect it as much as I possibly can. You can get some years out of this. I had one, I actually think I still have it, that got really nicely seasoned that I had been using for years. It was a Nordic one. I think I got that one out of Walmart. So, that looks good there. Close this off. We're also going to double up on that protection with some non-stick spray, which is Pam, and it's baking. So we'll just give that a nice spray there, and we'll spray all down in here and coat it real nice. Don't worry about anything sticking. And the baking sprays always have some flour. They should have flour, and then that helps with the sticking. All right. So we're gonna need 2 tablespoons of our butter. This is actually the Country Crock baking sticks. These are really good for cookies, but there's a salted and an unsalted version. And I've had this for a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and use 2 tablespoons of this. Just grab a knife here. And we'll measure it out. And of course, it's marked. And I usually like to do a little notch on there. And this is already softened, so that's why it's really good for things like cookies and stuff. But I'm going to use it in this particular recipe. Perfect. And this one's actually salted, which is okay. Unsalted is probably going to be better. I'm going to stick this in the microwave and I'll be right back, all right? 30 seconds should be all that needs. In the meantime, while I'm waiting for that to melt, we'll go ahead and we'll drain the water off of this. And I need to check the microwave because I can hear it sizzling. Be right back. It's not quite melted, but it's starting to sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. And I better keep an eye on that actually. And this is pretty much already melted, so I'll take it out. But let's go ahead and drain off this liquid like we started to do. I'm just gonna put it in my cup. Unless, like I thought, that's not quite a cup of liquid, which is perfectly fine. Actually, it might be a cup. I was actually covering up. So it pretty much is a cup. I will only use a little bit of that other one. So got the juice drained. We're gonna reserve it. Lid, that's a sharp edge. You're also going to need a 1/4 cup of the brown sugar. So we'll go ahead and get that brown sugar out of here. It's packed in there real, real tight. Sugar can be good for a whole lot of things. I actually like to use it if I sweeten up a barbecue sauce or put in my oatmeal. So this is a loosely packed measurement, so it can be a little bit over that. It's perfectly fine. So I'm gonna get this out of the way, so I'll sit it over here and go ahead and take that butter that you melted in the microwave and pour it into your pan. Actually going to go ahead and run some dishwater. I didn't do that. We're going to have a bunch of stuff to wash. In a second, I'll be right back. While that's running, some nice warm water there. You've measured this out. You put your butter in there. What you want to do now is you want to sprinkle some of this brown sugar evenly into the bottom of this pan. So we'll go ahead and do that. And you can try to shake it out of the measuring cup, but because I know the sugar is kind of densely packed together, it won't really come out evenly. So that's why I put on another pair of gloves. I'm going to sprinkle them in there, or sprinkle it in there. Just try your best. It's not going to be perfect, but sprinkle it in there as best you can. This will actually create a really nice presentation for this, making it in this Bundt pan. Because as it bakes, those pineapples are going to soften and they're going to kind of lay over the edge. And you're actually going to help with that too as you go ahead and lay them into the pan, which is going to be the next step. So that's why we went on ahead and we drained that juice beforehand, just so we could move into this next step. That's pretty even, and I'll show you here in a second what it looks like down in the pan. So, not perfect, but it should be okay. It's all gonna cook up anyhow. Okay, so now we're gonna get these pineapples. So you need your pineapples and your maraschino cherries as well. Probably should get a spoon to help get those out. Got a spoon right here, set it over there. So you should need, I think 6 of these is going to be enough. So you're just going to take it and you're going to lay it down in there. And just go all the way around the edge of the pan, so side by side. And sometimes they stick together, so just be careful with that. Yep, it's going to hold 6. Oh, I just broke that one. Oh no. It broke, but it's bound to happen. I need one more. If I can squeeze it in there. It's actually a little bit tight. There we go. 6 of those in there. I'm gonna change gloves again. I keep these handy in the kitchen. Now we need to get these maraschino cherries out. So in the middle of that ring, you're gonna place a maraschino cherry. I'm gonna double do it here, so it's right in the center. These are making me want a sundae really badly. Smell amazing. So that is done. And just so you can get a visual, I'll tilt it down. So that's what it should look like once you're done. So we're actually done with this part. So we're gonna set this aside and we're gonna go ahead and mix up the cake, which is super, super easy. You're gonna basically make it just like on the box, but instead of water, you're gonna be adding pineapple juice. So, Betty Crocker. And when I do this, you're gonna need 3 eggs for this. It's already come out. I usually like to do my eggs, my oil, blend them together, and then I like to add my cake mix and then the liquid. And these are cage-free organic eggs. I really only use cage-free stuff now. I don't really buy white eggs, but it's totally your choice. I actually think, especially if you're scrambling them, they have a little bit more flavor. And I feel like they're more natural, so. Egg is off my hands. Alright, so we got that part done. Where's this hand towel? And then we need a 1/2 cup of the oil. Just go ahead and pour that in there. It's beautiful. And I like to let this soak with a little bit of soap in it. Any of my measuring utensils, once I put oil, just to kind of break that oil down a little bit. And we're just going to turn this KitchenAid on. And let it just kind of blend that together. And I did say we need a little bit more juice, so I'm going to open up my can here. Shake it real good first because pineapple has a tendency to, it'll separate. Get it open. There we go. That's nice and blended. We're gonna get this yellow cake mix open. You can use white for this as well, but using the yellow will actually help add to the whole color of it and even more that pineapple feel. Just gonna pour that in there just like that. We're gonna pour in our juice. I'll do about half first and then I'll do the rest. I'll let it blend a little bit. I'll go ahead and get the rest of it in there. You can actually crank that up and I'll let this go usually for maybe around about 5 minutes or until I see that it's really, really smooth. Take a little bit more. I've actually taken my mixture up to about 5. And you guys can't smell it, but you actually are getting a lot of that pineapple smell. And this is going to make it nice and moist, and it's going to emphasize that flavor profile. And I always like to kind of scrape the edges of my bowl. I actually need to get the mixer with the spatula on it that'll do this instead of me having to do it. So that's actually pretty much mixed. I'm also going to need this to get into the pan. Move all this other stuff out of the way. And we're going to bring our Bundt pan back into the equation. Oh, this is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Let me grab a plate. Set that paddle on top of. Oh, it's nice and smooth. It's going to be great. So I'll usually take some of this batter off of my mixing paddle. Can't get it all off, but I'll try to take as much of it off as I can. Okay, I'll just set this over here. Then take that off, lock that, and slide it back. And that's the consistency of the batter. It should be kind of smooth. It's going to be a little bit more liquidy, but that's perfectly fine. And really all you're going to do is you're just going to take that bowl and you're going to pour this in to the Bundt. So pretty simple and straightforward. That spatula, you can actually use that to get some of this out of the bowl because there's going to be some that's going to stay behind. You can do a hand mixer as well. It'll be just a little bit more work. There's nothing like a good stand mixer. And you don't have to have a KitchenAid. There's all sorts of kinds that are a little bit cheaper. Actually, my first one had a glass bowl on it and it kind of rotated, so it was kind of nice. I gave that one to my mom. And I'm actually just using a KitchenAid Classic Plus, so I don't even have the Artisan one. And the difference in those is the motors are going to be a little bit more powerful. But the Classic, which is the entry level one, you can still use all the attachments with it. It's just not as powerful. I always like to try to get all of that batter out of there. And this is a great, great, great recipe for the holidays. We're coming up on Thanksgiving. This is also great for Christmas. You can make this. It's really, really simple. There's not a whole lot of steps. The ingredients aren't expensive, and it tastes delicious. So we got as much of that out as we can. So that's actually ready to go. I'm going to check my oven and my racks because I may need to adjust something. And I also always, typically when I'm baking, I'll put this on top of a cookie sheet to give me a little bit more stability. So we'll get that out here in a second. But let me make sure that my racks are where they need to be in the oven. And they are. Take this pan here. Just going to sit this on top. And it's going to go into the oven. Now this is going to bake. Baking times are going to vary, so this can go, it's in a Bundt pan, so I would give it at least probably about 50-55 minutes. Now, 350, I'll actually have to crank my oven down a little bit, so judge it based on how your oven works, and always constantly check it. It should be a nice golden brown. It shouldn't get really dark. That means it's kind of gotten well. And take a toothpick and stick in it. When that toothpick comes out, if it's clean, that means it's going to be ready to go, and you can go ahead and take it out of the oven. I like usually a nice light golden brown. So I'm going to put this in here. And let it bake. And once that's done, we're gonna let it cool. We'll come back. There'll be another video up here. We'll flip it over onto a serving plate and we'll give it a try. We'll taste it and should be absolute heaven. Now, before you leave this video, do not forget to subscribe below, tell your friends, and comment. If there's anything that you guys want to see me make, it might be something new that I haven't done before, more than willing to try it out together. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe below, and I'm going to get that other link up, or the follow-up video, as soon as we get it out of the oven. Thanks, guys. You're great. Universe Jarvis out.